To be entirely honest with you, Monogatari was a series that was always on my radar, but I had never gotten around to watching it because it was a pretty long series and I had started a lot of long anime this year. During the summer, I finally got that push to watch it, and by that I mean I made a deal with my friend that if he read Domestic Girlfriend, I'd watch Monogatari. Say what you want about me, but at least I actually started. But the reputation of Monogatari has always interested me, and at one point in time, Renai circulation was everywhere. And this is where people are going to get mad at me, but this is the watch order I was given by a friend. Please don't dislike this video. But anyway, I started off with the Kizu trilogy. And for a bit of explaining, Monogatari is a series that is filled with a bunch of different stories, starring our main character Araragi, who although acts like a creep that scares all the women away, goes about his high school life solving supernatural problems for each female character and befriending them. So to put it in simpler terms, Monogatari is basically Bunny Girl Senpai, but 100 times more nerdy. Getting that out of the way, Kizu is the beginning of the entire series' timeline, which is why I ended up starting with it. And can I just say that these trilogies were actually incredible. I don't really have the attention span to watch movies, but I watched all 3 of these movies in one night. And so I felt like I was going to breeze through this series, but when I made it to the actual episodes of Monogatari, I realized that the pacing that I was finishing the episodes was getting slower and slower. And that's because, although Monogatari is a very unique show, it tests my patience a lot. For reference, I finished the Kizu movies in summer, and I only just now finished Bake in October. And you may be wondering, why am I even still watching the show if it seems like I'm talking so negatively about it? One, because I'm basically forced to, but also, Monogatari introduces a lot of ideas within the story, but it's just that those middle sections are really a drag to get through sometimes. The first example that comes to mind is the introduction of Senju Gahara. Now, Senju Gahara was a character that I immediately found interest in because I knew that she was popular, but her introduction just felt really, strange. Like, I appreciate that Monogatari takes its time to explain everything in the story, but sometimes it's just kind of hard to get through. So even though moments like these are kind of a slog for me, it also makes the characters way more interesting in Monogatari. Because at the end of each arc, it feels like there's a big payoff. Because the emotional beats in Monogatari are genuinely incredible, which could even be displayed in the fights that I don't feel get talked about enough. Because not only are they emotionally impactful, they are just really cool in general, and Kizu showed this off the best so far. Monogatari in general has these really impactful moments in anime, and they don't forget about each character. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but sometimes after a character arc is completed, they usually get cast aside, which is not the case for Monogatari, since every character gets a time to shine, which is just a really cool thing that I noticed. But please do be warned that if you are interested in Monogatari, I would not recommend it for people who are new to anime. Not only is it because if you're a dub watcher, you're out of luck, but also the Japanese spoken in Monogatari is so fast that if you're a slow reader, you're not going to be able to keep up. Another thing about Monogatari that would be off-putting to new anime fans is the excessive fan service and really weird scenes in general. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind when there's fan service in an anime, but there were times where Monogatari had me going, what the hell is this? Why did the author go through the trouble of writing this? Especially in Bakemonogatari. Let me tell you, these scenes were insane. Like the main character, Araragi, I actually find him really interesting. But come on. The author must have been on something when he made Araragi commit the sin of the toothbrush scene and kissing his own sister. Well, at least Monogatari has characters like Kissshot to make up for. You've got to be kidding me. Even though the flaws of Monogatari are already starting to show itself, the good things about it are more prominent to me, which is why I'm glad that I decided to take the journey into watching this show. And if you're ever interested in hearing me talk more about an anime later down the line in this series, just let me know and I'll try to keep you updated in any way that I can, whether it be YouTube Shorts or just having its own dedicated video. But if watching a man act crazy around a bunch of women isn't your style, maybe watching a woman acting crazy with another woman is more your fancy. I'm in Love with the Villainess was an anime that was, to be honest with you, an experimental one for me, since I don't think that I'm necessarily the target audience for this. I've never really been into the setting of royalty, which is why early in the year when I watched an anime called Rei Lana appearing at the Duke's Mansion, I kinda ended up dropping it since I wasn't too interested in the premise all that much. And I almost made an exception for the Tear Moon Empire that came out this season, but I just kinda ended up forgetting about it even though the premise is more interesting compared to Rei Lana in my opinion.
But if there's one thing about this show that really made me stick around, it is the wholesome thirsting. Now, you may not understand what I am talking about, but I literally mean that the thirsting in this anime is wholesome. The main character, Rei, is without a doubt in my mind definitely a creepy otaku, but her thirsting for the villainess is done in such a way where one moment you're thinking, wow, that's a little off-putting, and other moments it's, oh my god, that's actually really cute. Rei deserves so much better. The serious moments in this show are very appreciated, such as the one where Rei openly talks about her sexuality. Moments like these create somewhat of a deeper layer for a show that's otherwise pretty goofy, and is a constant reminder of how I tend to enjoy these types of shows over ones that are more focused on action. Now, don't get me wrong, action-packed anime is definitely cool, and I understand the hype behind it. And while yes, I'm in love with the Villainess does have some action scenes, it's not the main reason I watch the show. It's overall just the dynamic of Rei and Claire that always makes me want to watch more. There are no high stakes involving most of society getting wiped out. The high stakes in this show are something as simple as not letting someone do better than you on a test, or beating you in a competition. And even when you lose, it's not like it's earth-shattering. I know I mentioned earlier that this show has serious moments, but don't let that change your whole perception. Like, yes, Rei is gay, but she's just like us.
She sins for 2D women that she can't have. Just me?
Such a detail isn't dragged on, it's just something that's a part of her character.
And is something that just makes the show work.
It's still just a feel-good show that I just recommend if you want to enjoy a simple anime. Or for others, experiment with a show that you normally wouldn't watch. Because out of all the new, and I have to put emphasis on new series coming out this season, this one is probably my favorite, and the show I always look forward to when it has a new release. Which is surprising since I never thought I would say that about an anime with the word villainous in it. So unlike Monogatari, if you just want a simple anime to get into, give this one a shot. If you're also a dub watcher, in this very rare case, the dub also comes out at the same time as the sub, so... Also, if you make fun of the dub for being too cringe with its dialogue, I promise you the Japanese is not any different.
The last anime I want to talk about on this list is Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter is the anime where it was one of the first I put in my watch later list. And if you're aware on how that goes, you just end up never watching it. Until now. I was warned that the first 20 episodes of Hunter x Hunter would be pretty boring, but to be honest with you, I don't really get that statement. The first arc of Hunter x Hunter is actually not that bad. I know that the introduction of Nen isn't really there yet since I only just finished the first arc, but I still found it enjoyable, with the exception of Leorio being kind of annoying at times, but I assume that he's going to get better later on. Another thing I want to talk about is I think that Gon as a character gets too much crap. I understand Gon is just a very generic character and a cast of amazing characters, but I think Gon's biggest weakness as a character is that he's just good at everything he does, making less room for development overall, but I think that's made up for with his dynamic with Killua, since they just have that best friend energy, which honestly, I'm just a sucker for. But like I said before, another big weakness of Gon's is that the cast of Hunter x Hunter is just incredible. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but Hisoka's a pretty cool character. I've gotten to the part where he humbled Gon, which was a really cool scene. I just love Hisoka's cockiness. Like, every time he walks into the room, he just knows that he's the shit. Because he is. The thing I love about the Hunter exams is that it tests the strategic ability of each character in the show, which is why Hisoka excels. He doesn't just excel because he's powerful, but he's also just smarter than everybody else in the room, which makes him twice as dangerous, because no one in the Hunter exams is completely dumb, especially the more they progress. It perfectly shows the viewers that the Hunter exams is really survival of the fittest, because if you die in the Hunter exams, then your whole life is just over, and I don't mean that in some blue lock, oh, your career is dead type of way. Like, you literally die in the Hunter exams. And the fact that this very concept does not scare Hisoka in any way, shape, or form is just one of the many examples that makes him so sick in the head. And we all know how the anime community loves their red flags. And I know that may sound baffling, but there are more things that are weird, like I refuse to believe that this isn't a girl. Listen, the gender of Kurapika doesn't change my perspective of the character, but come on. The appearance and voice actor? You can't try to convince me that this is a guy. I know that it's 100% confirmed, but I still call BS.
Now, the last character I want to talk about is Killua. Killua is a pretty cool character throughout the entirety of the Hunter exams, and I like how they're starting to develop some things that are happening in the future with him and his family, but even without that, come on, Killua is pretty badass. Some of my least favorite types of character in anime are the silent badass, since yes, they may be cool, but they exert no personality, which to me kind of comes off as a bit boring. But Killua's dynamic with Gon and his overall story with his family is what really makes him interesting to me, besides the whole badass thing. And even if we're only taking that into account, he is also sadistically cocky like Hisoka, which is kind of a bonus in this case. And Killua is probably a runner-up for my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter so far. But that's my main takeaway from the first arc of Hunter x Hunter, and I'm actually really excited about the future of this show. That being said, I'd rather people not spoil this for me because I'm enjoying the show so far and I don't really want to get spoiled. Because if this was considered to be the boring parts of the show, then I can only imagine what things like the Chimera arc or the New York City arc are going to be. I don't really have a proper way to end this video besides saying that the reason the mic quality was so bad in the middle was because I had to use this thing instead of my actual mic. And also on an unrelated note, if there's a COVID outbreak in Florida, my bad.